Hey everybody, it's Denny with my YouTube channel, Why Is This True? We're doing another Sunday live stream, and it's going to be another nice warm day out here. But we do have the summer fog pattern, so the fog rolls in the evening sometimes, or after it gets dark. It's usually when early in the morning it's foggy, so you can't even see the trees back there, way back there. You can't even see those trees sometimes in the morning. It's all foggy and kind of moist. So it's nice. And we have, I don't know if you could see it in the background. Yeah, you might be able to see right back here. I think there's a tent. Yeah, there's a couple tents back there. So we have some people that came out from Yuba City and camping out in the agility field. So they couldn't get a camping spot out by the coast, so they're just gonna stay here. It's about like 20-30 minute drive out to Bodega. So anyway, they got the 3 boys with them, so it's kind of fun. I think I'm gonna show them Manji later. Manji's doing fine. She's eaten twice. I have to feed her these mice. It's kind of gross, but they're like baby mice that really can't defend themselves, because she is pretty sure she's blind, although I have seen a couple instances where it looks like she has some visual response. But for the most part, you can you can just put your finger right up to her face like this, and or to her eye, and there's no response at all. And most snakes they'll recoil, they'll do something, there'll be some kind of visual response. But anyway, other than that, she's fine. She's very healthy. She's a night owl. She likes to be active during the night. I would bring her out now, but she's curled up, kind of just chilling. So during the day she likes to be asleep. So that's a Manji update. We've had a kind of a very interesting interview here recently with Carl Mollison and Kevin Trimmel, and we've got about almost 900 views in 2 days already with this interview, which is pretty impressive. I think Kevin's debut interview, I think we had 4,000 views in 3 days, but I might not be exactly correct on that, but I think it was high 3,000 or 4,000 views within the first 3 days. I'm not sure if this one will get to that level, but kudos to Kevin. This was kind of a brave thing for him to do so early in his coming public and developing his timeline and getting his memories back. And here's Kaylin. Kaylin, you want to show me your volleyball? Up. No, come on, up. Kaylin, come on. She just wants me to throw the ball for her. Come on, up. There you go. Say hi. No, she just wants to play ball. Okay, take your ball. Go ahead. So a lot of things came out, and what I'm seeing with these channeling sessions is that the light beings are almost kind of following in a level of disclosure and clarity, building upon previous sessions. And people have noticed this with Carl's channeling, is that it almost seems like it's the same person he's channeling all the time. And then we go back to that phenomena of using the pronoun we instead of I when we're talking to the light being. So these are all things that have gotten me and other people very curious about the whole process. I'm sure a lot of this will be addressed in some of the questions for creator in the future channeling sessions that we do. But anyway, it's becoming more and more direct, and I think I summarized it was about 1 hour. I'm not sure how far we were into it. Towards the end, and I tried to encapsulate what we had been learning with a statement to the effect of, no ETs interacting with humans on the Earth plane are positive, or something like that, or all of those ETs have some type of an agenda that is not in humanity's best interest. And of course that caused a lot of consternation and concern. Well, not a lot, but I mean in terms of the comments, I really only got one comment that pointed that out, 1 or 2 comments that pointed it out. And it's kind of a triggering statement, and I totally get that. And if you look at, for the people who've been following me, they're going to say, well, wasn't Denny the guy talking about the event in following Cobra, and he was up there with Corey Good at the Shasta thing? And yeah, for real, man. I definitely was. That whole issue, that whole narrative was very compelling, very attractive to me. I felt like I studied it to a certain extent to I wouldn't maybe say buy-in, but it was something that had captured my attention, something I wanted to focus on and follow. And as I've mentioned before, I'm being kind of directed away from that into areas that are being revealed by the older researchers, like I had mentioned in some of the previous live streams. Barbara Bertalla, Carla Turner, James Bartley, who's still around, and I've been reposting some of this stuff to James Bartley. And unfortunately, he doesn't have very kind things to say about Corey, and I lament that, because there's a lot of ways we can get through all of this without being mean or discourteous to each other. I don't know Corey's intentions or levels of manipulation or anything like that. I tend to kind of try to default on giving someone the benefit of the doubt, because I'm not in their shoes. I haven't been through their life experiences. I can't see the world through their eyes, and so I'm human like everybody else. I make snap judgments where I shouldn't and stuff. But if given the opportunity to just withhold judgment and be a little bit more kind and considerate and courteous towards people and giving them the benefit of the doubt, I think that's a much better procedure in terms of promoting healing and getting to the truth of things. Calling each other out and all that stuff, to me, that's just not productive. Anyway, I've probably said this before in other ways, but I am interested in James Bartley's perspective, because he does come from that older generation of experiencers and people, investigators and researchers, and he's got a very interesting background. I don't really like his tone that much, but who cares? Who cares what I like? I mean, the fact remains that he does have some very good information, valuable information, some information that seems to kind of line up with some of the other stuff that we're learning, especially through these channeling series with Carl. Which brings me to another point, which is, in a situation where someone's really giving out a lot of valuable information, there's always this danger of cult of personality, where you're going to create this following for Carl that is actually kind of dangerous. It kind of borders on the whole kind of cult thing, which everybody seems to be so sensitized to right now, where I think humans in large measure don't even understand the whole idea of cult. It's such a messy, muddied up word from popular culture and media that we have to be very careful about how we label things. So, and I'm saying this for my own benefit too, because I have to be careful. But it's something I'm sensitive about, and I think Carl is too. And we don't want to create some following, that's just based on what he's doing or what I'm doing with him. That's not the point of this. The point of this is hopefully giving a genuine communication path to higher consciousness, our higher selves. Which we tried to do, which was the attempt with Kevin Trimmel in our last interview, and that's where the focus is. It's not on Carl. It's not on me. It's not on. It shouldn't be on any of these people. It should be more about what are the messages, what are the truths, what are the light beings saying about who we are and where we're at and where we're going. So I'm trying to keep that front and center of this whole endeavor, and I'm not sure how well we're going to be able to pull that off, but we're aware of it. So anyway, we got some pretty cool stuff coming up here. Tomorrow I'm interviewing Lotta Ray, and if any of you follow if any of you follow Kualapele KP from the Big Island, if you follow his stuff, every once in a while he'll repost something from Lotta Ray. And Lotta Ray is a very interesting woman. She lives on the East Coast. She's the author of Earth Shift, the Multidimensional Universe, and Quantum Geocalibration Theories. And she's an internationally recognized for her accurate predictions. We're gonna interview her tomorrow, and I probably should have the interview public by Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm really looking forward to this. I didn't really think I was gonna be able to do an interview with her, but she's very gracious, and we've had some exchanges where it looks like this is going to be a pretty fun and fascinating interview. She's a quantum futurist and global trendcaster and internationally certified Feng Shui master. She's a superb geopolitical analysis. If you've ever ordered any of her special reports or read any of her online stuff, which is a lot of volume, a lot of material from Lotta Ray is available. She's also a financial consultant and author, as I mentioned, a claircognizant empath, and an intellect and earth shifter. She was born in Moscow, Russia, and since the age of 2 has lived and traveled all over the world with her family. Her family is connected to travel in various modes of transportation, including trains, ships, and spaceships. But she prefers walking and using a bicycle, and her husband is also an accomplished cyclist. By the age of 38, she's managed to have 3 different successful careers on 3 different continents. So she has a life of writing, and she's intrinsically connected to the 3 largest and most powerful countries on the planet right now, which is the USA, Russia, and China. And her writing retreat is in the Catskill Mountains of New York. And after she started writing, she's busier than she's ever been, but she's also managing to find more time to meditate and be with nature. So she's an animal lover, which is good news from my quarter, because we've got nothing but critters around here, lots of animals. And so we're going to address a couple things that I mentioned to her just as we got to know each other, and she wanted to make it part of the interview. So there's a couple questions that we're going to deal with, or a couple comments that I made in our introduction. She wants to make that part of the interview, so it should be really interesting. The other thing that's happening as far as interviews goes is I'm going to be doing an interview pretty soon with a woman who's a SSP experiencer. She's been kind of behind the scenes. Some of you may know her already. She's worked closely with Sean Bond within the more closed communities online for SSP experiencers. She's probably more well known than on Facebook or some of the other venues where these people go public. But she's got a very interesting story herself, a lot of experience, a lot of analysis on her situation, and most importantly, she does a lot of work with children, which I'm super excited about, because I think in terms of the SSP experience, this is something that's really overlooked. And it looks like the comments thing has been turned off, so I apologize for that for anybody who wants to put comments on here. I've got a couple things I want to talk about that towards the end of this live stream. But anyway, that's one of the interviews that is coming up in addition to Lotta Ray. And we're also going to do a follow-up with Gavin. And it's kind of fortuitous because we're going to be looking at 2 different points of view with these interviews. Gavin from Dublin, Ireland, comes from the perspective of that we really create our own realities, stem to stern, where we create our whole sphere, our whole experience of reality comes from our own consciousness. It's not an exterior thing. And I think he takes that to, a fairly thorough extreme, that point of view. It's been working, that methodology has been working well for him. He's very good at explaining it. You might want to check out his website. If you go back to look at the interview that I did with Gavin, his website's on there, and he's got some good articles on there. And I think one of them is called "There Is No Spoon," and you might want to check that one out. And then the flip side is that we're a manipulated, veiled species, and our reality isn't necessarily produced by our own consciousness, and that through this manipulation, we've really lost control of our ability to do that, assuming that we do have the ability to do that. And that's the viewpoint that's more promoted from the woman, the SSP experiencer that I just mentioned. So we're going to get kind of like 2 different modes of looking at reality from the 2 upcoming interview subjects, which should be within the next 2 weeks. We're going to be doing this. So I'm not going to. I didn't get permission to mention the woman's name who's the SSP experiencer, so I'm just going to leave it as a female SSP. and then Gavin from Dublin. So those are the two, the two perspectives that we're going to be looking at. Okay, so it is a conundrum. It's like, can both of these things be true? Can you actually be creating your own reality? Everything that you're experiencing is a creation of your own mind, and also be a manipulated veiled species. Are those things necessarily exclusive? Does it really have to be one or the other, or is there some way of those two things both being true? And it reminded me of something that I'm always saying. I said, there's two things. No one gets out alive, and no one dies. And I think both of those things are true, even though they seem diametrically opposed to each other. Yeah, great question. Okay, that's from Gregory. Thanks, Gregory. So I'm not really, I don't have an answer for that, and I wouldn't even pretend to have a start to an answer to that. I think I have a pretty good understanding of the problem, but I would not claim to have a handle on the answer. And I almost, part of me wants to like I'd like to leave it that way, at least for the time being. I'm comfortable with there being some unanswered questions out there. There they are. Wow, everybody's got a toy. Blue toys today. So that's Troy. He's the red and white. Where are you, Troy? Oh, he's hiding behind the chair. And there's Keelan. There goes Troy. He's got a new Frisbee. Pretty happy about that. So anyway, we're going to delve into that a bit with these interviews. So I talked about James Bartley. I did post some stuff on there. I check him out. He's not for everybody, but I think he's kind of like one of the perhaps somewhat of an unheard voice out there. He just did a presentation in Australia, I think, and so it's a video. It's not just the audio. Most of the James Bartley stuff is either written or audio. You don't get to see him talk, but this one's recent and it's in Australia, and I didn't get to watch the whole thing, but I'm going to watch the whole thing, and I kind of recommend checking him out. Yes, he has some very amazing and brutal insights into the whole disclosure and secret space program for phenomena, and he does have huge difficulty with some of the terminology, because they never bandied around some of the names that are being used now, like the disclosure movement or SSP and that kind of thing. Let's see, what else? Oh yeah, and one of the things that we're kind of like we're chewing around the edges of, and I think it's probably going to be one of the next things that we get into with this whole thing with Carl, and I'm hoping we're going to get into more of the healing aspects of this work that he's doing, channeling of higher selves, the spirit rescue, channeling of past beings who did not have a successful transition into the light, and this whole idea of forgiveness and healing, and I hope we get into that more, because what we're discovering is that us humans have had a much larger hand in the whole suppression manipulation thing, and it has a lot to do with the way that we make agreements in our lifetimes, and the karmic the things that we create in the world of karma, and the things that we need to resolve in the world of karma, which is very fascinating, and another area where I feel like I'm very much a student and not someone who could teach someone else about it. But basically, what the thought that came to my mind was that we're talking about healing a sociopath, and in a lot of cultures, our culture too, is like you got this criminal, he's not, we can't fix this guy, so we're gonna just throw him in jail and throw away the key, and he's got to be in jail for the rest of his life because he's a sociopath. And a sociopath is actually a person with an antisocial personality disorder. And I'm going to read this. This is off the internet. And this is another area where I think we have to be really, excuse my French, fucking careful about using mainstream definitions or treatments of things that, on the face of it, they don't even understand these things themselves. But they're very quick to diagnose certain conditions, and then they're also very quick to overlook a lot of explanations for these conditions. But I'm just going to read what a sociopath is, because I think that's one of the things that we're going to start delving into with this channeling series with Carl, is that we're going to be talking about healing sociopaths, basically. These are dark spirits. These are people that have separated themselves from Source Creator volitionally, with intention. They are going to serve evil, so to speak, and not serve the light or service to others, It's a much more severe condition than what we would even think of as service to self, I think. But anyway, so what is a sociopath? A sociopath is actually a person with antisocial personality disorder. Antisocial personality disorder is defined in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. This is a book which contains the diagnostic criteria for mental illness. Oh boy, be careful. As a cluster B personality disorder. Those that are dramatic or emotional. Well, sociopathy can only be diagnosed at the age of 18 or above. The following must be present before the age of 15 for the diagnosis. Repeated violations of the law. Oh, this is hilarious. Pervasive lying and deception, physical aggressiveness, reckless disregard for the safety of self or others, consistent irresponsibility in work and family environments, and lack of remorse. And then the second part of this is the psychopath versus the sociopath. And I use the terms kind of interchangeably because I think there's degrees of this phenomena that are not going to fit into these categories that are being defined here. I don't have any expertise or education on this. I just unfortunately have more experience than I'd like to admit on this subject. Psychopathy can be thought of as a more severe form of sociopathy with more symptoms. Therefore, all psychopaths are sociopaths, but sociopaths are not necessarily psychopaths. Okay, well, let's split some hairs. Lack of guilt, remorse, lack of empathy, lack of deep emotional attachments, narcissism, superficial charm, dishonesty, manipulativeness, reckless risk-taking. Listen to this. Moreover, approximately 93% of the psychopaths are in the criminal justice system. Okay, well, I could really go off on this, but I'm not. All right. So we're talking about, according to this little definition thing here, we're talking about curing psychopaths, which I think there's already some anecdotal examples of this, but nothing that would make it into the mainstream consciousness as far as I'm aware of. But anyway, I think that's where this is going with Carl and the whole healing aspect of his work. Shoo. What else is going on? So yeah, we got those 3 interviews up. I got a surprise interview that I may or may not mention in the members page, just because it's a little bit far away and I don't know. But it was another kind of surprise interview, one that I pursued. I didn't think I was going to get an agreement on, but it worked out just fine. And thanks to Rusty, who kind of turned me on to this situation. Rusty and Sergio. Without those 2 guys, I think I would have missed out on quite a few interviews, actually, over the last year or so. So I want to give my thanks out to those guys. And it looks like we're kind of like on the infant stages of pursuing maybe another methodology for getting some funding for the channel. It's actually a business, an online business that I may be part of. But it's at very infant stages. I can't really talk about it or who's involved or whatever like that. But the funding thing remains an issue. In order for me to keep doing this, I'm going to have to start generating some income. And it's so on that note, I've got a couple different things that I want to run by the viewers. And if you have any comments, please go to whyisthistrue.com and put it in the members page comment section for this video. Or I think you could put it on any video one. I've got a way of actually monitoring that now a little bit better. But one of the things I was thinking about doing was change the GoFundMe page so it's on a monthly basis rather than on an annual basis. The annual basis is kind of like, it is kind of weird. It looks like, I figured out what I need to operate for a year, and it's like right around $50,000 or something like that. So that's what I put on the GoFundMe page. So people look at that and they go like, shit, yeah, I like that $50,000 too. And then, I get donations, but it's not to the level that's going to keep this boat floating. So we're thinking of other ideas to just make it more palatable for people to assist. And one of the things was to change the GoFundMe page to just make one for each month, and then at the end of the month break it down and then start a new one. And I think that might be a good idea. But I'm interested in your opinions on that. So if you'd be so kind to let me know what you think, I will definitely consider that. And then if you've been to the website, you've seen that I've got the page there with the giclées, and that has turned out not to be successful as of yet. Maybe when there's more traffic on the site, people will see it and we'll get more art buffs in there and stuff. But I haven't sold any giclée prints yet, and it could be like seascapes are kind of generic anyway. But anyway, that it remains to be seen. Another idea that some of my more internet-based friends are encouraging is t-shirts. So I'm kind of kicking around that idea. I don't have time to design them. I've got some ideas for some designs. So if you think that's a good idea, let me know, and I'll put more effort towards that. Now, I do have 2 volunteers so far that I'm pretty sure are actively working on translations. One you already know about is Hakan. I think he's working on part 3 of Tony Rodriguez's interview, and that's going to be translated into Turkish. Part 1 and part 2 is already done. And then I've got another video that is being translated into Russian right now. And I'm not really sure where that's at. That kind of fell off the plate there for a while due to personal happenings with this person. But I'm desperately looking for people to help me with translations. I think that's going to be very helpful in the long term for this channel, to get this out to the non-English speaking people out there. So if you're an English speaker and you also know a foreign language and would be willing to help us out and do some translation, I would really appreciate that. Yeah, okay, so we got the suggestion for GoFundMe, and I want to put a thanks out to some of the people who have been helping me out lately financially and otherwise. I want to thank Alan Horn with his recent donation. I want to thank Anthony Durenberger, who's been helping me out from day one with all different kinds of things, not just financial, but equipment, just everything. He's helped me so much. So I want to thank Anthony Durenberger, and he's a local guy. He's damn near my neighbor. And then also got a from Madhum, I can't pronounce this. I'm gonna do the best I can. Madhumathi, and I don't know where he's from. I have a suspicion that he might be from Pakistan or someplace like that. But anyway, I want to thank him for his recent donation. I really appreciate it. And Gary Shade gave me a donation too. Gary Shade, thank you so much. And also Dan Tacchini, who's also a childhood friend, and somebody I've had some interaction with lately. We're kind of rekindling a friendship that goes way, way back when we were little kids. And so anyway, Dan, thank you for your donation. I really do appreciate it. So I think that's it. These are always too long. If you have questions or comments, please go to whyisthistrue.com. That's where most of this traffic related to my channel needs to be kind of funneled in that direction for the long-term goals for the channel and for me being able to continue to do this. So I think I've got the comments turned off for this live stream. So if you go to the live stream on the my website, whyisthistrue.com, you can leave comments there, and I really do encourage that, and I appreciate it. And I'm sorry for some people that have left comments there and haven't received any reply from me, but I did have a little snafu on the website. I didn't know that the comments were there. So man, I feel like I've been flapping my lips. So anyway, thank you so much, folks, and thanks for watching. And we got some good interviews coming up, and I'll keep at it. And many blessings, and have a wonderful Sunday. Bye-bye.